When you deploy your apps, it's really important to check that the app is up and running. And at any point, it could go down. It could be because you deployed some bad code. It could be because there's something wrong with your server. It could be something's wrong with the hosting provider that you're using. Like, so many variables could happen, even the domain and DNS, and there's so many things involved. So how can you check that it's up and running and get notified if it's not? Well, I had the same issue with our link-free project, and I wanted to make sure that the service is up as much as possible. And we're using Vercel, and that's great, but we could deploy something that breaks something. So I looked into all these solutions like Pingdom and all these other ones, but you kind of pay not per ping, but per environment that you ping. So you might want to check different pages. You might have multiple apps that you want to check, and you might want to ping more frequently, but it can get quite expensive, especially if you want the data retention. So I thought there must be an open source alternative that I can host on a different cloud provider like Civo, for example, and allow me to kind of ping as often as I want and have as many locations or many apps checked, and I can keep the data for as long as my hard disk allows. And I found so many, but I actually like the project uptime. As you can see behind me, it looks pretty good. You can get a list of all the monitors that you've got, and then you can drill into it and it can give you a graph of more information. I thought that was pretty cool. It was pretty straightforward and simple to use. And then I could, share this with the other maintainers on the project. Well, it's quite straightforward to set up. I'm going to show you that today, and not expensive at all. Actually, you can get free credit when you sign up to Civo, but if you use that credit, then it's like $5 a month, and you can actually host a lot on that virtual machine. So let's create that today, and let's set this up, and I'll show you how straightforward it is and how you can get notified on Discord or anywhere else, emails, SMS. There's so many options of how to get notified, but I set this up with Discord, and it's really quite straightforward, and I'm really happy with it. So let's dive in and take a look. But before we get started, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, so you get notified every time I post a video and go live. Yes, we do live streams, coding, geeking out, and learning together. All right, let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to quickly show you the repo. This is the repo. It's got over 35,000 stars, which is pretty impressive. And the last activity was only yesterday, so we can see it's an active project, which I really, really like. And the documentation is really good. I literally just followed the Docker installation, which was pretty quick. So the first thing we need to do is let's go to Civo, let's log in, and let's create a virtual machine. I've logged in now. You can see I've got other activities, but you forget about that. Let's just go to compute. You can also create Kubernetes. We could deploy this on Kubernetes if we wanted to. I think you can get Kubernetes environment up in about kind of 1.5 minutes, like 90 seconds. That's really, really impressive. So you could definitely do that as well. That is one option. And then you could have all the fun you have with Kubernetes. But to keep it super simple for this video today, I am going to just create a virtual machine. So we'll call it uptime. And you can see, I don't know if you noticed, I had a virtual machine that said Docker, where so I'm putting all my containers. And again, I could do that with Kubernetes. Maybe that's something we'll do in a future video. Let me know that's something you'd like to see. So again, we can pick extra small. We are just doing a monitor, just pinging an environment every 30 seconds, but you can change that to less often if you want to save a bit of computing power. We're going to go for Ubuntu, and how we're going to log in, we are going to use root, that's fine. We need a public IP, default network, and how we're going to log in, we're going to use my SSH key. For the tag, I'm just going to put video because we're going to do this as part of the video. So let's just create the VM. It takes about 1 minute. You can see it's building it now, but you can see that you get 1 CPU, 1 gig of RAM, and 25 gigs of hard disk space. That's a lot of data that you can store in that space. So you don't have to kind of go crazy and go, I need a terabyte of data. 25 gigs, I haven't calculated it, but I'm guessing you can get quite a few months worth of storage of quite a few monitors. While that's going, let me bring up a terminal as well, because we're going to need to log in to this VM and upgrade the repositories so we can install the latest Docker. Now, less than a minute has passed. Thank you so much, Civo. So now the instance is up and running, and we've got our public IP. Let's SSH to that public IP. We're going to use root. It is recommended that you don't use root, but for this video, I'll just keep it simple. I'm going to accept the fingerprint. I'm happy with that. And then I'm going to log in using my SSH key. And hopefully I'll I'll type it right the second time because that's kind of like a bit embarrassing. So now we've logged in and we're here on the server. So we can see uptime, which also is the name of the open source project we're going to use, but is a Linux command as well. And you can see it has been up for less than a minute. So now that we're SSH'd in, the first thing we want to do is we want to install Docker. So let's get going. So this is what it recommends. So let's copy and paste these. Let me clear the terminal and let's go. Now that's finished. The next step, it says, let's use the GPG keys. Okay, we'll copy that. Let's do the next step. Right, that was nice and quick. Then after that, we want to set up the repository. Perfect. Okay, now we can update the package manager. And now we want to install the latest version of Docker. Make sure we hit copy. And after that, it should be up and running. So let's run a Docker command and see. So we could do Docker PSA. Should list everything, but we have nothing running, but we know that Docker is running itself because it's responded to the command. So the next thing we want to do is head back to the repository on GitHub for Uptime project, and let's run what it suggests. Can't find the image, that's expected, so it's going to download it. And it's all happening on the virtual machine in the cloud. Okay, and now that's done, let's run the Docker command again. And you can see that it is running. It says it's been running for 4 seconds, so that's great. So what do we do next? Let's check documentation. It says visit port 3001. So let's have a look. So we'll get the IP from Civo and we'll paste it in and we'll visit port 3001 and it'll ask us to set up the credentials. So before you share this IP or domain, if you point a domain to it, make sure you set this up. So we can say admin and then the password. I won't use a strong password because I'm just doing it for this video. Choose my own and we'll just type admin as well. Password is too weak. Okay, that's great. Just for a video. Admin 1, how about that? Don't remember this. Here we go. So now we've got the project up and running. So you could actually visit that IP and that port number. You won't be able to log in because I didn't tell you the password, and I'll probably bring it down after the video because I've got the official EddieHub one running already. But then you can go add a monitor. So we could choose a friendly name. We could just say something like, I don't know, the EddieHub website. The URL would be eddiehub.org. How often you want it to ping, to check. You could do 60 seconds, 120 seconds, like 2 minutes. I did mine on 30 seconds. You can also set the retries, like how many times it retries before notifying. Again, I think I did 1 or 2. I might have done 2 for this one. It's great that you can also set other settings as well. Do you resend notifications? Things like that. I think it's super important. You can check for the status code that you want as well and add tags to it. And that's it. And then when it comes to notifications, you can choose the notifications that you want. They have a lot of notifications, which I thought was really, really impressive. So I did Discord and I just took from my Discord token, put it in, chose the channel name, and that was it. And I can show you what that looks like in a moment. But you've got email, you've got Signal, SMS, like so many things are going on. It is pretty awesome. And then it tells you what it will need. So I chose Discord. So let me select that and show you how straightforward it was. Chose Discord. You give it a name. You give it the webhook URL. And you can change the bot name if you want and a custom message. And this is what it looks like. So I did a test right at the beginning. So it said link-free Discord alerting test. And then you can see we actually went down for like 2 seconds and it picked up on that, which I think was amazing. And then it immediately said it's come back up again. So it was really great to see that we actually did have an outage, very small one, but we wanted to know why. We can investigate. We have the timestamps so we can check the logs and see what happened. Was it a deployment? Did deployment happen? Did it get rolled back? And then you can investigate further. So our next step actually is to have the logs notify us if there's a 500 or something goes wrong in the logs. So that's something we're going to add to our monitoring. Like I said, we've got that Docker virtual machine, which is pretty awesome because now we can add other open source projects to it. Let us know what open source projects you're using to monitor your project in terms of the HTTP status, but also in terms of the logs as well. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and I look forward to seeing you in the EddieHub Discord where we can geek out between videos and live streams every day because I'm working full time on the EddieHub project link free. So you can geek out with me there every day. Link in description below.